Hello, hello. Let's take a little time to go over some of the assets that can be found online at michellerysobi.com, aka Teachable. Here we have Edgelum Lindsay demonstrating the different asana that can be found in the manual. So I'll take a moment to voice over a few key indicators that I feel have enhanced my personal practice. But again, want to remind you that this is all about what lineage is true to you, what feels good on your body, what's tight, where you want more sensation and how you can get there. Essentially, what we have is cues is what to do, qualities or how to do it, modifications or what else you can do. I do recommend offering sister poses, especially for some of the trickier ones for folks like arm balances and that sort of thing. So if you're about to cue your class into crow, perhaps invite them instead to take a pigeon or a downward facing dog or something else while you move into this crow series. So that would be an example of something I might say in my class, not to imply that that's what you need to say, but you can. Here we have Lindsay about to demonstrate boat, and I have the video, or we have the audio off here. And notice that she takes her time to create a nice strong base of support prior to lifting the toes off of the mat, straightening the legs, or reaching the arms overhead. So those are a few key takeaways that you're going to want to make sure that you do as you move through this. As we go into the next one, which is bow, now we're prone, face down. So same as before, you might want to give your students some choices on what else they can do. If bow doesn't feel so good for them, here she's preparing the body to move into it and eases in through Chaturanga Dandasana. Notice the time she takes to settle into her shoulders, to set the body, to engage the core, flexing the feet to help strengthen, and reaching for one foot and perhaps another foot. And by all means, feel free to use a strap in this posture or a robe tie or something else if you don't happen to have a strap. Next up is bridge. So bridge is really all about engaging the core before we elevate the hips. So we come into this one, invite those heels closer to the hips, taking a nice soft, easy breath. Again, as she did before, she takes her time to steady herself before entering the posture. And I think that this is what really sets Lindsay's personal practice apart from many other practitioners that I see. She really takes the time to personalize it, make it her own. So opening up through the chest, anchoring the shoulders, finding a softness in the low back. Heels are towards the hips. They could be further away than this if you like. And with a soft ease, the hips to rise. And to catch Lindsay's audio, you can watch this lesson online. Beautiful posture for sure. And I do recommend a bridge before we see maybe a shoulder stand or a plow. So folks always have something to do. Please never turn your head while in a back bend. So next up is butterfly. And we'll give that a moment to load and get into this place. You can choose to use a block if that's a little bit more comfortable for you. And note that the heels can be close to the base of the spine or further away from the base of the spine. Maybe your hands reach the feet, maybe they reach behind the thighs or somewhere else. The idea here is to open up the elbows, not forcing the sides of the legs, but rather just encouraging an opening, but this should be gentle and feel good. And for some of you, perhaps you bring it into a forward fold. And for some of you, maybe not. So that covers the B section of our asana. And I do hope provides a nice guide for you to get started and see some of the resources that are here. I invite you to come here again and again, a few different ways. Let me actually come back here and stop my screen share. So I invite you to come to this in a few different ways. And let me share some that I have found and students of this program have found to be advantageous. So one, please don't try and compare your practice to Lindsay's practice. I do generally try and, have somebody who's enthusiastic about doing these recordings, and commonly that person has a pretty strong personal practice and practices daily and has for years, and this is the case for Lindsay. She has said again and again that her practice did not start out this way, and time absolutely served her. In addition, she does a good amount of weightlifting and other mindful wellness practices to help enhance this personal practice. So more than anything, I really just want you to be exposed to each of the asana that can be found in the manual and take the time to, like a football coach, watch them and take notes and write down and take in. And then maybe on a different day, compare it, maybe less writing, just compare it with what's in the manual and do a journal reflection at the end of it to see what kind of came up for you, what your takeaway was. And then maybe on another day, practice along with her, but do be mindful not to look at the screen as Lindsay needed to demonstrate and talk about what she was doing. We wouldn't want to turn our heads in a back bend, for example. So there's just some key things when it comes to how do we approach asana or postures, and what's right and what's not right. And it's this. It's in the end, it depends on which lineage you follow, on the placement of hands, on, arms overhead or down, all these differences. But I really just want you to listen to your body and do what feels good. Many people find that use of props can really help elevate and further their personal practice. And it's not so much a crutch as it is enhancement. So maybe grab those blocks, because no matter how much yoga you might do, your arms aren't going to get any longer. So with that being said, thank you so much for joining me today on the Zoom. It's such a pleasure having you. I hope you enjoy this, and this is of service, and I will see you next time. Namaste.